This video is going to show you how to use the fake FPGA on a Linux computer. The first thing you need to do is go to this website here, and I'll put a link in the description, and you're going to need to download, you gotta scroll down here, you're going to want to download this uoftscripts.zip and either Linux 32 or Linux 64. So which one do you use? Well, do not pick the one that matches your machine. This happens to be a 64-bit Linux computer, but you actually need to pick the one that matches your installation of modelsim. So how do you figure out what version your modelsim is? Well, I managed to get Quartus installed here, and the installation folder is in my home folder, Intel FPGA Lite, 20.1, modelsim ASE, and then right here inside linuxaloem, this is where all the binaries are for the Linux version of modelsim. So let me just grab that. Now go to that folder and just run the file command on vsim. And you see here that it says 32-bit executable. So that tells us that the version of modelsim on my computer is 32 bits, and so we should download desim Linux 32. Yeah, let me do that. And I'm just going to extract this. Earlier I made an empty folder to do all of this stuff here. Okay, and then the other thing you need is this uoftscripts.zip. And I will extract this also to that folder that I made. But just to keep things organized, I think I'm going to make a new folder here for it. Okay, so now if you go in here and go, so in that thing we extracted, there's this folder called GUI. Go in here and you want to run this run.sh file. So let's do that. Actually, maybe you can double click on it. I've never tried that before. Oh, I know, it just opens it in my text editor. Yeah, alright, so let me just do this through the terminal. And just source this run.sh file. And with any luck, okay, great, our GUI came up. Now this GUI, that GUI, you don't want to close it. Just leave it open. Okay. Now where was I? Oh yeah, okay. So now the GUI is open. We've got all our files downloaded. The next step is to actually, do a lab, for example. So I've got Quartus open here, and we'll make a new project. I'm a little scattered today. Oh yeah, so let me save it in this folder that I made, and let's make a new folder, and we'll call it, example proj or something like that, or you'll probably call it something like lab 5 or whatever. And then give the project a name. Make sure that this and this are the same. And then just go through all the default settings. Oh, she's froze. Ugh. Okay, yeah. Go through all the default settings. You don't need to change it. Okay, now make yourself a new Verilog HDL file. And let's just save this, and I like to call it main.v. The next thing you want to do is get the template. So in that uoftscripts zip that you extracted, there's this file here called labtemplate.v. So grab this template and paste it into your new file. So a few words about this. Do not change anything about it. Okay, don't change this name, don't change those names, don't change the order, just leave it as is. The only thing that you should do is write the code that you want to be writing for your lab before end module, where I've written this comment here. So let's do a little example. Let's do assign LEDR 0 equals switch 0 XOR switch 1, and then maybe let's do assign LEDR 1 equals switch 2 and switch 3, for example. Okay, so you'll notice here inside the hierarchy that Quartus is looking for a top-level module called Lab 5. By default, it looks for a module that has the same name as your project. But here, the template is called main. Do not, under any circumstances, change this. This has to be called main in order for it to work with our simulator. Instead, we'll teach Quartus to look for a top-level entity, which is called main. So go into your, oh sorry, I went a little faster. You go into assignments, settings, and then here under top-level entity, just type main. Okay, so now we're ready to compile this. Now, don't use these play buttons to compile it. Instead, we've written a script for you here. So inside that U of T scripts, there's this compilesim.tcl file. So just click this once in the list here, once you've added it to your project, to select it, and then hit run. Now here, you'll see that it's running analysis and synthesis, and then later on it's going to run this EDA netlist writer. It's actually the same thing as if you had clicked, I think, the right-hand side play button maybe, but the reason you need to use the script is because it does this second step. So let me show you what that second step did. So now, if you go here into this Quartus project that we made, there'll be this new folder called simulation modelsim, and in it you'll have this main.vo. This is the file that we need to run our simulation. So if you don't see it, it means something went wrong. In particular, if you have a syntax error in your Verilog file, you'll see it in this processing window in red. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, okay, so now the next thing that we need to do is copy some files over into this folder that we're in right now. So inside this script, you'll notice that there's this home Linux 32 copy these files, okay? And in it, there's this shell script. Now you have one extra job to do before you can use this script. You need to add a export path equals something statement so that it can find modelsim. This is the only time you have to do this, so let me show you how it's done. Earlier I said that, here let me open up a new file browser. Earlier I said that I had installed Quartus at Intel FPGA Lite 20.1. You're going to want to go into this modelsim ASE, and there will be a folder called linuxaloem or something similar to that. So this path, this is where modelsim is installed, and you need to write an export path equals that path that we just found, $path. So once you've edited this script, that's it. You never need to edit it again, and you don't have to look at it ever again. Okay. So remember, we've just edited this file here, okay? So now take these three files and copy them into the simulation modelsim folder of your Quartus project. Okay, so now we want to execute this shell script, so I'm just going to use my terminal to do that. I'm gonna, whoops. CD to that directory, and now I'm just going to source this runsim.sh, and fingers crossed that it'll work for me here. You will know if it works, and it has, if it gets to this run all here that you see down over there. So now if we go to our GUI, we are able to use it. So this LED 0 is the XOR of switches 0 and 1, and this LED 1 is the AND of switches 2 and 3. Okay, when you're done running a simulation, just hit stop simulation, but don't close this GUI window, just leave it open. If you ever do want to close this GUI window, let me show you how that's done. You're going to close this window as you normally would, and then in the terminal that you used to run that shell script that started the GUI, you need to hit Control-C to end the process. If you don't do that, it doesn't release a resource, and then the next time you start the GUI, it won't be able to connect properly, and anyway, you don't want to play with that. So, okay, that should be everything.